The winter air had settled over the small town like a soft blanket, bringing with it the familiar excitement of the holiday season. Every street was lined with twinkling lights. Shop windows glowed with festive decorations, and the scent of freshly baked cookies drifted from every bakery. She walked down the main street, her scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, feeling a warmth in her chest that seemed to have nothing to do with the cold. Christmas was always her favorite time of year. She loved the way people smiled, a little brighter, how strangers greeted each other with small acts of kindness, and the feeling that the world, for a moment, slowed down just enough to notice the little joys. She had always been someone who enjoyed helping others, especially during the holidays. Her small apartment was cozy but filled with reminders of past Christmases' ornaments collected over the years. Handmade cards pinned to the walls, and a tiny tree that she always decorated with care. But this year felt different. She had a sense that something special was waiting, though she couldn't quite explain what it was. Her first stop was the local community center, where she volunteered every December. It was a hub of activity, with people coming and going, picking up food donations, wrapping gifts, and helping organize the annual charity drive. She was greeted with smiles and friendly nods as she walked in, the familiar sounds of laughter and chatter wrapping around her like a warm hug. She loved being part of something bigger than herself, a feeling that made the world feel just a little brighter as she helped arrange the donated toys. She noticed a man standing near the entrance, holding a clipboard and looking slightly out of place. He was tall, with kind eyes that seemed to observe everything carefully. There was something about the way he carried himself, polite, attentive, but with a hint of mystery that drew her attention. She didn't know why, but she felt an unexpected curiosity about him. He smiled as their eyes met briefly, and she quickly looked away, feeling a little embarrassed. Days passed, and she kept noticing him around the community center. He was always there during the busy hours, offering to help where needed, and always with a gentle word or a small gesture that made people feel appreciated. One afternoon, as she was organizing gift bags for children, he approached her with a friendly smile and asked if she needed any help. She was a little surprised, but she nodded. He moved with quiet efficiency, helping her arrange the bags neatly. It was a simple act, but there was something comforting about having someone beside her. Sharing the work, over time they began to exchange small conversations. He would ask about her day, comment on the decorations, and occasionally make her laugh with an unexpected joke or observation. She found herself looking forward to seeing him, though she told herself it was just the excitement of the season. There was a sweetness to the way he interacted with her, a sense of genuine interest that made her feel seen in a way she hadn't expected. She tried to keep her emotions in check, telling herself not to read too much into it. After all, it was just Christmas, and people often acted more friendly during the holidays. One chilly evening, after a long day of organizing and preparing for the community Christmas event, he approached her with a small gift in hand. She was startled, unsure what to make of it. The package was simple, wrapped in shiny red paper with a delicate ribbon, but it was the thought behind it that made her heart flutter. She hesitated for a moment before taking it from him. Inside was a handmade ornament, delicate and beautiful, with her name carefully inscribed on it. She felt a surge of warmth, thinking about the time and effort it must have taken to make something so personal. "I thought you might like this," he said softly, his eyes meeting hers. There was no pressure, no expectation, just a simple gesture that carried a surprising weight. She thanked him, feeling a mix of joy and curiosity. It was such a thoughtful act that it seemed almost too perfect. She put the ornament carefully in her bag, telling herself she would hang it on her tree as a reminder of this small but meaningful moment. As the days grew closer to Christmas, their interactions continued. He would offer to help her with tasks at the community center, suggest small acts of kindness for others, and occasionally join her for coffee when they had a brief break. She found herself opening up in ways she hadn't anticipated, sharing small stories about her life, her love for the holidays, and even her quiet moments of doubt and worry. He listened attentively, never interrupting, always offering a comforting word or a gentle smile. There was a calmness about him that made her feel safe, feeling she hadn't realized she craved. Despite the growing connection, she remained cautious. She reminded herself that it was easy to get swept up in the holiday spirit, that people often seemed kinder than they truly were during this time of year. Yet every time she tried to distance herself, she found it difficult. His presence had become a quiet comfort, a steadying force amid the chaos of preparations and community events. She couldn't deny the sense of anticipation she felt whenever she saw him, a feeling that made her chest tighten in a way she didn't fully understand. One snowy afternoon, as they were finishing up preparations for the charity drive, he suggested they take a short walk outside to enjoy the decorations in the town square. The streets were alive with light, children laughing as they ran past, couples holding hands, and the faint sound of carolers drifting through the crisp air. She agreed, feeling a sense of excitement mixed with nervousness. As they walked, he shared small stories about his childhood Christmases, moments filled with both laughter and warmth. She listened intently, feeling a connection that seemed to stretch beyond the simple acts of the season at one point. They stopped near a beautifully lit fountain, its waters frozen in delicate shapes. He turned to her, his expression earnest. "You really bring a lot of light into this place," he said softly. She felt her cheeks warm, unsure how to respond. I like seeing people happy. Especially around Christmas," she said quietly. There was a pause, a moment suspended in time, before they continued their walk. The silence, comfortable rather than awkward. That evening, as she returned home, she found herself thinking about him in a way that made her both nervous and happy. She reminded herself that it was just the season, that the magic of Christmas could make even strangers seem extraordinary. Yet deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something different about him, something that made her heart race whenever he was near. She placed the ornament he had given her carefully on her tree, letting its soft glow remind her of the small moments of kindness that had become so important to her. The days leading up to Christmas were filled with activity, both at the community center and in the town. She continued to volunteer, decorate, and prepare for the big charity event, always finding little moments to share with him. He seemed to appear at just the right times, offering a helping hand or a reassuring smile. It was as if he understood the quiet longing she carried in her heart, the desire to believe in something pure and kind during the holiday season. She began to notice that people around her also seemed to be affected by him. Volunteers and neighbors spoke of his generosity and attentiveness, how he made them feel appreciated and valued. She felt proud to know someone who could inspire such warmth in others. Even if she didn't fully understand why he had chosen to be part of her life, there was a sense of anticipation building inside her, a hope that perhaps this Christmas held something truly special, something beyond the ordinary joy of the season. On Christmas Eve, the town was alive with celebration. Lights sparkled on every corner, carolers sang with heartfelt enthusiasm, and the aroma of holiday treats filled the air. She had spent the day at the community center, helping ensure everything was ready for the evening festivities. As she stepped outside into the cool night, she felt a rush of excitement. There he was, waiting for her with a warm smile, as if he had been expecting her. He offered his arm and she accepted. Feeling a sense of comfort and anticipation, together, they walked through the town square, enjoying the sights and sounds of the holiday season. Children ran past, laughing and playing. Couples held hands, and families gathered around the Christmas tree, taking pictures and sharing moments of joy. She felt a sense of belonging, a feeling that perhaps she was exactly where she was meant to be. He spoke little, but his presence was enough, quiet reassurance that made her heart feel lighter as they approached the central tree. She noticed a small stage set up for the evening performance. The community had gathered, and the excitement in the air was palpable. She didn't know what to expect, but she felt a thrill of anticipation. He turned to her, his eyes twinkling in the glow of the lights. "I thought you might enjoy this," he said softly. She nodded, unable to find words, her heart racing with curiosity and hope. The evening unfolded with laughter, music, and moments of genuine joy. She found herself swept up in the magic of the event, the kind of magic that only seemed to happen at Christmas. She caught glimpses of him throughout the night, always attentive, always caring, and she couldn't help but feel a growing connection, a sense that this was more than just a fleeting moment. It was a night that would stay with her, a night where the ordinary seemed to shimmer with possibility. As the crowd began to disperse and the night grew quiet, she felt a sense of contentment she hadn't experienced in a long time. She thanked him for being there, for sharing the evening with her, and for the small gestures that had made such a difference. He smiled, a soft, reassuring smile that seemed to say more than words ever could. She didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, she allowed herself to believe in the simple kindness and warmth that had brought them together. Walking home through the softly falling snow, she felt a sense of peace. The world seemed to glow with the quiet magic of Christmas, and she felt a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this holiday season held something extraordinary. She hung the handmade ornament he had given her in a place of honor on her tree, letting its gentle light remind her of the moments of connection, laughter, and unexpected joy. She thought about the days ahead, wondering what surprises might still await. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to dream without hesitation, believing that sometimes even the smallest acts of kindness could change everything. The morning after the Christmas Eve event, she woke with a quiet sense of anticipation. The world outside was blanketed in fresh snow, and the sunlight sparkled off each icy branch, making the town look like a scene from a storybook. She dressed warmly and stepped outside, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. There was a calmness to the morning, a pause after the excitement of the previous night. She welcomed it. Her thoughts kept drifting back to him, the man who had become an unexpected presence in her life. She wondered what he was doing, whether he would be at the community center again, if their paths would cross in the quiet moments between the holiday celebrations. It was a strange feeling, the kind of nervous excitement that made her smile without realizing it. She told herself it was just the magic of Christmas lingering in her heart. But she could not deny the curiosity and hope growing inside her as she arrived at the center. The familiar hustle and bustle greeted her. Volunteers moved quickly, sorting through donations, arranging supplies, and preparing for the final distribution of gifts. She felt a sense of belonging here, a connection that went beyond simple volunteer work. It was a place where her kindness and effort mattered, and where she could see the direct impact of small actions on the lives of others. The joy she felt in giving was something she treasured deeply. He was there again, quietly moving through the room, helping wherever he could. When he saw her, his face lit up with a gentle smile, and he approached her, offering to help with the next task. Together, they worked side by side, packing food baskets for families in need. She noticed the way he observed the details, how he made sure every basket was neatly arranged and thoughtful. There was an authenticity in his actions that made her trust him even more, though she still felt a flicker of caution, a quiet voice reminding her not to get carried away too quickly. Throughout the day, they shared small conversations, simple exchanges that slowly built a bridge of connection between them. He asked about her childhood Christmas memories, listened with genuine interest as she spoke, and shared moments from his own past. She found herself laughing more freely, opening up in ways she rarely did with anyone else. Each story, each shared laugh, made her feel as though they were discovering pieces of each other, carefully and naturally, like two people who had known each other for much longer than just a few days. During a brief break, they stepped outside into the soft snowfall. The air was crisp and clean, and the quiet streets of the town seemed to glow with the light reflecting off the snow. They walked side by side, talking about small, everyday things, the charm of the decorated shop windows, the smell of pine from the Christmas trees, the way the town seemed to come alive in the season. She felt a rare sense of peace, a moment suspended in time where the worries of the world melted away. He suggested stopping by a small cafe that overlooked the town square. She agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and comfort in his company. The cafe was warm and inviting, filled with the scent of freshly brewed coffee and sweet pastries. They ordered simple drinks, and for a while they sat in silence, watching the world outside and enjoying the quiet companionship. It was not the grand gestures that made her heart flutter, but these small, shared moments, the ease of conversation, the comfort of someone simply being there. Over the next few days, their connection continued to grow. He would find little ways to surprise her, sometimes bringing a favorite snack, other times leaving a small note of encouragement. She began to notice that her thoughts often drifted to him during the day, wondering what he might be doing, or if he was thinking of her as she thought of him. It was a feeling that filled her with warmth, a reminder that even in ordinary moments, extraordinary connections could form. One afternoon, while arranging gifts for children, she overheard a conversation between two volunteers. They spoke quietly, almost in whispers, about the man and his unusual attention to detail. They remarked on how helpful he was, how he seemed to care so deeply about the community and the people around him. She felt a surge of pride, mixed with a hint of curiosity. Who was he, really, and why did he seem so invested in the lives of strangers? She shook the thought away, reminding herself that people could be kind simply because they wanted to be. Still, a small question lingered in the back of her mind. Later that evening, the town held a small outdoor celebration to mark the final day of the holiday festivities. The square was filled with lights, music, and laughter, children running past with rosy cheeks and bright eyes. She found herself walking beside him again, their paths naturally intertwining as they moved through the crowd. He suggested they try a few of the seasonal treats offered by local vendors, and they shared a warm pastry while standing near the fountain. It was a simple moment, but it felt significant. A quiet reminder of the bond forming between them as they walked through the square. She noticed families and friends coming together, sharing gifts, laughter, and stories. The sight made her heart swell with happiness, but also a subtle longing for connection, for someone who could truly understand and share these moments with her. He seemed to sense her thoughts without needing to ask, offering a gentle smile and a reassuring presence. She realized that in his company, she felt lighter, more open, and more willing to embrace the small joys of life. The evening ended with a brief performance by local musicians, caroling and playing soft holiday tunes that echoed through the square. She stood beside him, letting the music wash over her, feeling a sense of belonging and contentment. The lights reflected in his eyes, and for a moment, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something more, something beyond the fleeting magic of the season. It was a delicate hope, one she held close to her heart. Returning home, she placed the ornament he had given her carefully on the tree, its gentle glow reminding her of the connection they shared. She reflected on the past few days, amazed at how quickly their friendship had grown, how naturally their bond had formed. There was a sense of trust, an unspoken understanding that made her feel safe and valued. She knew she was experiencing something rare, something that went beyond ordinary kindness. The next morning, she awoke to a soft knock on her door. Curious, she opened it to find a small package on her doorstep, wrapped in simple brown paper and tied with twine. There was no note, no indication of who had left it, but her heart immediately raced. She carefully opened it to find a handmade candle. Its scent warm and comforting, with a small charm attached that read, "For moments of quiet joy." She felt a wave of emotion. Touched by the thoughtfulness of the gesture, whoever had left it understood her in a way that felt personal, even intimate. She spent the day thinking about him, about the little acts of kindness that had made her feel so connected and cherished. She wondered if he realized how much of an impact he had made on her life in such a short time. The feeling was both exciting and unsettling, a mix of anticipation and cautious hope. She reminded herself to stay grounded, to not let the excitement of the season cloud her judgment. Yet, she could not ignore the pull she felt toward him, the sense that their paths had crossed for a reason. Over the following days, their interactions became a natural rhythm, a dance of shared moments, quiet conversations, and small gestures of care. He would ask about her day, help with tasks at the center, and sometimes simply sit with her in silence, offering the comfort of his presence. She found herself looking forward to these moments more than anything else, cherishing the connection that had grown between them. One evening, as they walked home together from the community center, she finally asked a question that had been on her mind for days. "Why are you so kind to everyone?" she asked, her voice soft, almost hesitant. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting a warmth and sincerity that made her heart skip a beat. "Because it matters," he replied simply. "Because small acts of kindness can change someone's day, maybe even their life, and because moments like these remind us what really matters. She nodded, feeling the truth in his words, and for the first time, she allowed herself to fully believe in the possibility that kindness, genuine kindness, could exist without expectation or hidden motives. That night, she lay in bed, reflecting on the past week. She thought about the snow-covered streets, the laughter of children, the warmth of the community center, and most of all, the quiet presence of the man who had become a part of her life. There was a sense of anticipation, a feeling that something was building, though she did not yet know what. She fell asleep with a smile, her heart light, and her mind filled with the hope that the magic of Christmas had more surprises yet to reveal. The days between Christmas and New Year felt quieter in the town. The bustle of the holiday preparations had passed, leaving a gentle calm that spread over the streets. The snow still covered the sidewalks and rooftops, and the lights in the town square twinkled softly in the evenings. She enjoyed the slower pace, walking through the quiet streets and letting the beauty of the season fill her senses. The world seemed peaceful, yet she could feel a subtle tension building in her heart, an unspoken anticipation for what might come next. He continued to be a comforting presence in her life. Their daily encounters at the community center had become a routine, each interaction strengthening the bond between them. He offered help without asking for anything in return, whether it was lifting boxes of supplies, arranging toys, or simply sitting beside her during quiet moments. She felt an unexpected sense of safety with him, a trust that was rare and precious. At the same time, she remained cautious, remembering that the world often had more complexity than it appeared on the surface. One evening, as the last few volunteers were leaving, he suggested that they take a walk to a small park near the center. The park was blanketed in snow, and the streetlights cast a warm glow across the frozen paths. Children had built small snowmen and left footprints that marked the playful chaos of their afternoon. She walked beside him, enjoying the serenity and the way he made even the simplest moments feel meaningful. They paused near a wooden bench, and he looked at her with a thoughtful expression. "I wanted to show you something," he said softly. She tilted her head, curious. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, wrapped package. Her heart skipped a beat as she took it from him. The wrapping was simple, but the care in presenting it felt personal and deliberate. Inside was a small handcrafted music box. When she wound it and opened the lid, a gentle melody filled the air, soft and enchanting. She was touched beyond words. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her eyes meeting his. He smiled, a gentle, reassuring smile. "I thought it might remind you of the quiet moments that matter," he said. She felt a surge of gratitude and warmth, realizing how thoughtful his gestures were. It wasn't about the gift itself. It was about the intention, the consideration, and the way he seemed to understand her, without her having to explain. They continued their walk through the park, sharing small stories and laughing quietly at memories from past holidays. The night was clear, and the stars shone above, their light reflecting off the snow and creating a magical atmosphere. She felt a deep sense of connection, a feeling that their time together was special in a way she hadn't expected. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that moments of genuine kindness and care could exist without any hidden agenda. As they walked back toward the town square, he suggested stopping at a small cafe that was still open. They ordered hot chocolate and found a quiet corner to sit. The warmth from the drinks and the cozy atmosphere of the cafe made the evening feel intimate. She shared a few personal stories, moments she had never spoken of with anyone else, and he listened with genuine interest, never interrupting, always offering a comforting word or a gentle smile. She realized that she felt understood in a way she rarely did with anyone. The days that followed were filled with similar moments. They would cross paths naturally, sometimes meeting at the center, sometimes by chance in the streets or at the market. Each encounter brought small gestures of kindness, words of encouragement, and subtle hints that he genuinely cared. She felt herself leaning into his presence, drawn by the quiet strength and sincerity he offered. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, and she treasured it, even as a small part of her mind urged caution. One afternoon, As she was organizing gift bags for the upcoming New Year's celebration at the center, he approached her with a thoughtful expression. "I have an idea for a little surprise," he said. She raised her eyebrows, intrigued. He explained that he had arranged a small, private event for a few of the volunteers, a way to show appreciation for their hard work and dedication. She felt a surge of excitement mixed with curiosity. He seemed to think of every detail, and she appreciated the effort he put into making people feel valued. The evening of the small gathering arrived, and the community center was transformed with lights, decorations, and a cozy seating area. A few volunteers were there, enjoying the warmth, laughter, and music. She watched as he moved quietly among the group, ensuring everyone felt included and appreciated. His thoughtfulness was evident, and she found herself admiring him more with each passing moment. It was not just the gestures, but the way he made everyone feel seen and important that left a lasting impression. During a quiet moment, he approached her and offered to show her something outside. They stepped into the crisp night air and walked toward the park again. There, near the frozen pond, he had arranged a small display of lights, simple but beautiful, reflecting in the ice and creating a magical effect. She gasped softly, amazed at the thoughtfulness and effort. He had gone to great lengths to create a moment of wonder and delight, a gesture that felt personal and meaningful. She realized that he had an extraordinary ability to make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. As they stood together, watching the lights flicker and dance across the ice, he spoke softly. "I wanted to share this with you because I think you deserve to see something beautiful." She felt a rush of emotion, a mix of gratitude, admiration, and something deeper she could not quite name. It was a moment suspended in time where the world seemed to shrink until it was just the two of them and the quiet magic of the night. In the days that followed, their bond continued to strengthen. She found herself looking forward to each encounter, whether it was a shared task at the community center, a walk through the snowy streets, or a quiet coffee together. The connection they shared was becoming a part of her daily life, a comforting presence that brought warmth and hope. She felt a growing trust in him, a sense that he genuinely cared for her and the people around them. Despite the growing closeness, she still maintained a cautious optimism. She reminded herself that people were complex, that not everything was always as it seemed. Yet, she could not deny the joy and comfort his presence brought into her life. She cherished the small acts of kindness, the quiet moments of understanding, and the subtle ways he showed that he valued her. Each gesture, each word, felt like a thread weaving a connection that was both fragile and strong. One morning, as she walked to the center, she noticed him helping an elderly neighbor carry groceries. She paused for a moment, watching, and felt a deep sense of admiration. He did not seek recognition or praise. He simply helped because he saw a need. The sight reinforced her growing feelings of respect and trust, and she realized that it was not just the gestures for her that mattered, but the consistent care he showed for everyone around him. It was a reflection of his character, and it made her feel lucky to know him. The following evening, they met for a quiet walk through the town square. The lights reflected on the snow, and the quiet beauty of the night wrapped around them. She felt a sense of peace in his company, a feeling that the world was right in this small shared space. He spoke of the coming year, of hopes and small dreams, and she found herself sharing hers as well. The conversation flowed naturally, a mix of laughter, reflection, and quiet moments of thought. It was a rare connection, one that felt genuine and unforced. As they walked, he suddenly stopped and looked at her with a serious expression. "I want you to know," he said softly, "that I value these moments with you. They mean a lot to me." She felt a flutter in her chest, a mix of happiness and nervousness. She nodded, struggling to put her feelings into words, but the warmth in her heart said everything she could not yet express. It was a moment of quiet intimacy, one that left her feeling both elated and vulnerable. That night, as she returned home, she reflected on everything that had happened in the past weeks. She thought about the music box, the lights on the frozen pond, the quiet moments in the cafe, and the small acts of kindness that had touched her so deeply. She realized that she had allowed herself to believe in something extraordinary, a connection that went beyond ordinary friendship, She did not yet know where it would lead, but she felt a growing sense of hope and anticipation. In the days leading up to the new year, she continued to notice small gestures from him, notes left at the center, a favorite pastry brought during a busy afternoon, a warm smile that made her feel seen. Each act, no matter how small, reinforced the trust and admiration she felt. She found herself reflecting on the past, realizing how much she had grown to rely on his presence, how much she had come to value the quiet moments they shared. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, one that was both exhilarating and comforting. The New Year's celebration at the community center arrived, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter, music, and a sense of shared joy. She found herself standing beside him again, feeling the warmth of his presence amidst the crowd. As the clock approached midnight, they joined the small group gathered for the countdown. She felt a mixture of excitement and reflection, thinking about the journey of the past weeks, the unexpected connection, and the hope that the coming year would bring new experiences and continued closeness. When the clock struck 12, the crowd cheered, and the town square erupted in a chorus of voices wishing each other a happy new year. She felt a surge of emotion, thinking about the moments that had brought her here, the kindness, the laughter, and the growing trust. She turned to him, and their eyes met in a quiet acknowledgement, a shared understanding that the bond they had formed was something rare and meaningful. In that moment, she felt a sense of hope and anticipation for what the coming year might hold. Unaware that the most significant revelations were still ahead, the days following the new year began with a quiet normalcy, the town slowly returning to its everyday rhythm after the holiday celebrations. Snow still clung to the trees, but the frenzy of decorations and gatherings had subsided. She walked through the streets with a calm mind, though her thoughts often wandered back to him. Their connection had grown deeper, and she cherished the moments they shared. Yet, there was a faint unease that began to creep in, subtle and almost imperceptible. Like a shadow at the edge of her awareness, it started with small inconsistencies in his stories. One afternoon, while they were organizing supplies at the community center, she mentioned a detail he had shared about his past. His expression flickered for a moment, and then he quickly corrected himself. She didn't think much of it at the time, brushing it off as a simple mistake. But over the following days, she began noticing more moments like this. Minor details that didn't add up, stories that seemed to shift depending on the conversation. At first, she ignored the doubts, telling herself she was reading too much into things, that the kindness and care he had shown were what truly mattered. One morning, she overheard two volunteers talking quietly in a corner. They were discussing some information they had discovered about him, details that didn't align with the image he had presented. She froze, heart pounding, listening as they speculated about his past and intentions. The words they spoke sent a chill down her spine. She tried to shake it off to remind herself that they might be wrong or exaggerating, but the seed of doubt had been planted. She felt a mixture of fear, confusion, and disbelief. How could someone who had been so kind and thoughtful possibly have hidden motives? Later that day, she confronted him gently, hoping for clarity. They were walking through the park, the snow crunching softly under their feet. She looked at him, searching for honesty in his eyes. "There are some things I've heard about you. I don't understand," she said softly. He paused, taking a deep breath, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of something in his expression, hesitation, concern, maybe even guilt. He spoke carefully, explaining that there were aspects of his life he had not shared, things that were complicated and not easy to discuss. His words were measured, reassuring, but there was an underlying tension that made her feel unsettled. Despite the unease, she chose to listen, to hear him out without jumping to conclusions. He told her that some events in his past had forced him to act in ways he wished he hadn't. He had made mistakes, and that not everything about him was straightforward. She felt a mixture of relief and disappointment, grateful for his honesty, but shaken by the realization that the person she had trusted completely was not as transparent as she had believed. It was a difficult truth, one that made her question her judgment, her trust, and the nature of their connection. The following days were a delicate balance of continued interaction and quiet reflection. She continued volunteering at the community center, still seeing him there, still experiencing moments of kindness and care. But the shadow of doubt lingered, subtle but persistent. Every smile, every thoughtful gesture now carried a weight she hadn't felt before. She found herself analyzing his words and actions, searching for clues about his true intentions. It was exhausting, confusing, and yet impossible to ignore. One afternoon, she discovered evidence that revealed more than she was prepared to handle. While organizing supplies in a storage room, she stumbled upon a file that contained documents related to his work. And to her surprise, some personal records she hadn't known existed. It was clear that there were parts of his life he had kept hidden, not out of malice, but out of necessity. The discovery left her feeling both betrayed and sympathetic. She realized that people were complex, capable of both kindness and secrecy. And that understanding someone fully was not as simple as it seemed. She confronted him again, this time with a mixture of determination and hurt. They sat together on a bench near the town square, the soft glow of the streetlights illuminating their faces. "I found some things I didn't know about you," she said quietly. "I need to understand why you didn't tell me." He looked at her, his expression serious and vulnerable. He explained that he had wanted to protect her from complications, that he had not intended to deceive her, but had feared that revealing everything might push her away. His words were sincere. But the reality of the hidden truth weighed heavily on her. The revelation forced her to reevaluate their relationship. The moments they had shared and the trust she had placed in him, she felt a whirlwind of emotions, confusion, sadness, anger, and still a lingering affection that refused to vanish. She realized that the connection they had formed was genuine, but it had been built on an incomplete understanding. The truth was not malicious, but it was significant enough to challenge everything she had believed about him and the bond they shared. In the following days, she took time to step back and reflect. She continued her daily routines at the community center, interacting with other volunteers and focusing on the work she loved. Yet her mind often wandered to him, replaying their conversations. The small gestures of kindness and the moments of genuine care. She recognized that people were rarely simple, that they carried past experiences, secrets, and fears that shaped their actions. Understanding this complexity was painful, but it was also a step toward growth. One afternoon, he approached her cautiously, sensing the distance that had grown between them. "I know things have been difficult," he said softly. "I want to be honest with you moving forward. I don't want to lose what we have." She looked at him, torn between the warmth she still felt and the hurt from the hidden truths. "I need time to process everything," she replied, her voice steady but gentle. He nodded, understanding that trust needed to be rebuilt slowly and intentionally. During the quiet moments that followed, she reflected on the lessons she had learned. She realized that people could be kind and genuine, even if they had complexities and secrets. She understood that trust was delicate, that it could be shaken by hidden truths, but also strengthened through honesty and effort. The experience left her wiser, more cautious, yet still open to the possibility of meaningful connection. It was a painful but necessary realization, one that reshaped her understanding of human relationships. As the days passed, they continued to interact, but with a new awareness. Their conversations became more transparent, their gestures of kindness more intentional. She watched as he made efforts to be honest, to share parts of his life that he had previously kept hidden. She responded with cautious openness, allowing herself to feel the warmth of their connection while remaining aware of the complexities involved. It was a delicate balance, a dance between trust and caution, affection and understanding. One evening, walked through the quiet streets together, the snow falling softly around them. The town was calm, the lights reflecting on the icy surfaces, creating a serene atmosphere. He spoke of his intentions, his regrets, and his hopes for the future. And she listened carefully, weighing his words with a mixture of hope and skepticism. She realized that while the truth had changed her perspective, it had not erased the bond they had formed. It had, in some ways, deepened her understanding of him and the care he had shown in the days that followed. She found herself slowly rebuilding her trust. She recognized that people were not defined solely by their mistakes or hidden pasts, but also by their efforts to be honest, kind, and understanding. She allowed herself to appreciate the moments of connection they shared, the laughter, the quiet walks, and the small acts of consideration. It was a gradual process, one that required patience and introspection, but she embraced it. Knowing that meaningful relationships were rarely simple, by the end of Part 4, she had reached a place of cautious clarity. The truth had been revealed, the hidden complexities exposed, and yet the bond they shared remained. She had learned to navigate the balance between trust and skepticism, warmth and caution. The experience left her stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the nuances of human connection. While the journey had been challenging and filled with unexpected revelations, it had also been transformative, shaping her understanding of kindness. Honesty. In the delicate dance of trust that defined meaningful relationships, the weeks after the truth came to light were quiet. It's almost reflective for her. The town, still wrapped in the remnants of winter, seemed calmer now, as if the passing holidays had left a sense of clarity along with the snow. She continued her routine at the community center, organizing supplies, preparing meals for families, and quietly observing the small joys that came from helping others. She felt a shift inside her, a quiet strength that grew from the challenges she had faced with him, and the revelations that had tested her trust, despite everything. She noticed that the connection they shared was still present, though it had changed. Interactions with him were now grounded in a new level of honesty and awareness. Their conversations were open and sincere, his gestures careful but genuine, reflecting the efforts he made to regain her trust. She realized that people were complex, capable of mistakes and secrets, yet also capable of care and redemption. Understanding this gave her a sense of perspective. She felt grateful for the moments they still shared. One chilly afternoon, they met at the small park near the center. The snow was soft under their boots, and the world seemed hushed, as if giving space for their conversation. He handed her a small cup of steaming tea, a simple gesture that made her smile. They walked slowly, talking about the community projects, their hopes for the upcoming year, and the lessons they had learned. She found herself laughing at his quiet humor and offering insights from her own experiences. The tension from before had not disappeared completely, but it had softened, replaced by a cautious warmth that allowed her to feel comforted yet vigilant. She reflected on her own growth. The experience with him had taught her to navigate trust more carefully, to listen to her instincts, and to balance hope with awareness. It was a lesson in patience, understanding, and emotional intelligence. She knew now that true connection did not mean perfection, but the willingness to be honest, to face challenges together, and to respect one another's boundaries. The knowledge was empowering. It's giving her confidence in herself and her ability to relate to others meaningfully. He noticed the change in her demeanor as well. One evening, while they were cleaning up at the center after distributing supplies, he stopped and looked at her thoughtfully. "You've become stronger through all of this," he said softly. She felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of pride and gratitude. "I've learned a lot," she replied honestly. He nodded, acknowledging her growth with a quiet respect that made her feel valued. It was in these moments, simple yet profound, that she realized how much she had changed and how much she appreciated his presence. Even with all the complications, life gradually returned to a gentle rhythm. She continued volunteering, spending time with friends and family, and enjoying the small moments that made her days meaningful. Yet, there were moments when she found herself thinking about him, reflecting on the journey they had taken together. The truth had shifted her perspective, but it had not erased the warmth, the laughter, or the shared experiences. She understood that human connections were layered, often fragile, but also resilient when nurtured with care. One afternoon, while walking through the town square, she noticed a small family setting up a modest Christmas tree, late as it was after the holidays. They struggled with the decorations, and she approached to offer assistance. As she helped them, he appeared beside her, quietly observing before joining in. Together, they arranged ornaments, and helped the children hang lights. The activity was simple, yet it brought her a sense of fulfillment, a reminder that shared effort and kindness could create moments of joy. She felt a renewed appreciation for his presence, seeing how he continued to care for the community in a sincere, tangible way. The more she observed him, the more she realized that the lessons from the past weeks had shaped both of them. He had been honest about his intentions, acknowledging his past and showing a desire to rebuild trust. She responded with openness, understanding that people could grow and change when given the chance. Their interactions were no longer built solely on wonder and charm, but on shared respect, patience, and authentic care. It was a deeper connection, one that went beyond the superficial gestures of the holiday season. One quiet evening, she found herself reflecting while sitting by the window in her apartment, looking out at the softly falling snow. The town was serene, the lights of homes glowing warmly against the dark sky. She thought about the journey she had been on, the excitement of the holidays, the unexpected bond with him, the revelations that had shaken her trust, and the growth that had followed. Each experience had left its mark, shaping her understanding of herself and others. She felt grateful for the lessons, even those that had been difficult to face. He called that night, asking if she wanted to meet for a walk. She agreed, feeling a mix of anticipation and calm. They met at the park, their steps crunching softly in the snow. He handed her a small, unassuming gift, a handmade bookmark. It was simple, thoughtful, and reflective of the quiet connection they had cultivated. She smiled, realizing that the gestures that mattered most were often the ones rooted in care and understanding, not grand displays. It was a moment of shared appreciation, quiet acknowledgement of the bond they had nurtured through honesty and patience. As they walked, they talked about their hopes for the future. Small dreams and aspirations that were neither grand nor urgent, but meaningful in their simplicity. She shared her plans for continuing her volunteer work and nurturing her relationships with friends and family. He spoke of his intentions to continue giving back to the community, to act with integrity, and to honor the trust that had been rebuilt between them. Their conversation flowed easily, grounded in mutual respect and understanding. She realized that she no longer felt the anxious anticipation that had accompanied their earlier encounters. Instead, there was a sense of calm, a steady warmth that allowed her to appreciate their connection without fear or doubt. The trust she had rebuilt was stronger because it was based on awareness and honesty, rather than blind faith. She understood now that human relationships were nuanced, capable of both challenges and joy, and that embracing the complexity was part of growing together in the weeks that followed. She continued to engage with the community, offering her time, energy, and care. He remained a supportive presence, respectful of her boundaries, and consistent in his actions. They shared quiet walks, small gestures of thoughtfulness, and meaningful conversations that deepened their understanding of one another. The connection between them had transformed from the initial excitement of the holiday season into a steady, enduring bond built on trust, empathy, and shared experiences. She also took time to focus on herself, nurturing her own growth and reflecting on the lessons learned. She realized that she had developed a stronger sense of discernment, a deeper understanding of human nature, and an appreciation for the balance between hope and caution. She recognized the importance of self-awareness in relationships, understanding that true connection required both vulnerability and careful observation. It was a lesson she carried with her, guiding her interactions and shaping her approach to the future. One sunny afternoon, as the snow began to melt and the first signs of spring emerged, they walked together through the town square. Watching children play and families enjoying the warmer weather, she felt a quiet contentment, a sense of completeness in the simplicity of the moment. He glanced at her, a soft smile on his face, and she realized that the journey they had taken through excitement, revelation, doubt, and growth had strengthened the connection they shared. It was no longer fragile or uncertain. It was grounded in understanding, honesty, and genuine care. She reflected on how far she had come since that first Christmas Eve, when the world had seemed full of wonder and possibility, and her heart had been opened to the magic of the season. She had learned that joy and trust were precious, that people were complex, and that understanding and patience were essential to nurturing meaningful relationships. The experience had taught her to value authenticity over appearances and to recognize the strength in balancing hope with caution. As they paused near a small cafe, she turned to him, a thoughtful expression on her face. "I've learned a lot through all of this," she said softly, "about trust, about kindness, and about the strength it takes to be honest." He nodded, understanding the depth of her words. "And I've learned too," he replied quietly. "I've learned what it means to be trusted, and how important it is to honor that trust." There was a shared understanding between them, a mutual respect that had been cultivated through their experiences and the challenges they had faced in that moment. She felt a sense of peace and hope. The bond they shared was not perfect, nor was it without its complexities, but it was real, enduring, and meaningful. She understood that relationships required effort, patience, and understanding, and that true connection could survive challenges when nurtured with care. The lessons she had learned would stay with her, shaping her interactions and guiding her approach to the future as they continued their walk, the sun casting a soft glow over the town. She felt a quiet joy in the simple presence of someone who had become important in her life.